on May 29th, 2025, I did not know I was going to be pregnant.
Hi, everyone. My name is MJ.
Hi, I'm Vivienne, and we are the co-creators of the Rise of Praying Parents Journal.
Ooh, I can't believe we're actually saying that, like, we're at this point.
I
I
know.
can't believe it. So, before we even go into details about the journals, let's talk about how we got here.
Yes,
So, you want to start?
I will start.
Okay.
So, in order to actually start the story of how this journal came about, we actually have to start about how we met,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
And that's an
so
interesting story.
it is an interesting story. And I had to pull out my phone because I had to get the text message I sent her. For context, MJ and I met on Instagram. So, like her post, like her story, et cetera, et cetera. We exchanged phone numbers. And then I'm literally looking at it on October 11th, 2024.
That's when we exchange phone numbers?
No, we had exchanged the phone number a few months before, but we were like, hi, how are you doing? Oh, I thought of you. How are you doing? That kind of thing.
Right.
And then in October 11th, 2024, it was literally at 5:50 a.m. So I'm looking at this on my phone. And at that moment, I was like in my head, like when the thoughts of like worry, anxiety, and fear and all the things like just in your head. And I think I'd been like that for a few days. And I remember waking up that morning and praying, and I was like, Lord, I need help. Just like help me, please. I need this to go. And I literally heard text MJ. And I was like, hold up. This girl gonna think I'm crazy. I'm like, text her what? Like, just text her how you're feeling. And I would say I was partially obedient because I texted her, but I then texted two other people because I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna think I'm crazy. This is probably not.
So, basically, you followed the spirit and the flesh.
I did. But I literally texted her, and I want to read what I wrote, right? Because this will all make sense. I was like, hey, good morning, MJ. How are you? I hope you had a great week. Apologies for the random text message. I know how to apologize a lot, but I was wondering if you could pray for me. I've been consumed by worry, not sure what the trigger is, but it's gotten to the point where I doubt that I hear from God, or just worried that if it's God and not my own thoughts. I said it's affected my prayer life with everything else around me. And with life in general, I've gotten to an unconscious, what's the point place in my mind. I honestly just want my fire back and I don't know where to start. And I was like, thank you so much and God bless you. And so I just kind of left it there. I was like, I didn't think she was going to respond. And she actually did a few hours later. And the first thing was like, okay, are you open to praying together? And I bring that up because what I thought was an initial, okay, we're just gonna pray for one day, has now turned into, I don't even know what to call it, right? Like releasing this journal or just, coming to this point. But following that connection point a few months after, and I have another screenshot because they always have to document things. MJ and I were on a call. So again, we had gotten to the point where we prayed together, we talk about stuff in the spirit, would read the word, all of that stuff. And then one afternoon on May 29th, 2025, a few months later, so she comes to me and she's like, hey, Holy Spirit said I should tell you about this, like, tell you about this idea. So I was like, okay, cool. What's the idea? And so she literally talks about the journals. And literally it's, we're just talking, teaching women how to pray, how to grow. And I'm reading it from my notes and what the whole goal of it is. We started talking about like, okay, do we need a trademark? What do we need to do? Just start talking about what the idea is. And initially when she brought the idea, I'm like, okay, I'm in marketing, I'm in branding, whatever, so maybe that's how I'm going to support her, to be able to create this thing. So I'm thinking I'm in a support role. But if you know MJ, anyone that knows her, she's always like, go pray about it. Like, don't bring this back to me. Like, definitely go pray about this. And so I did. And essentially, like, what started to unfold after then was the fact that, okay, yes, I was going to be a support system. Specifically, the Bible verse Exodus 31 came about. And anybody understands that whole concept of Exodus 31, the Lord had just given Moses the vision of how to create the Ark of the Tabernacle. And then in that part, he calls Bezalel, and I'm, Lord forgive me that I'm getting this wrong, but he calls Bezalel and he basically gives him, That's the first time we're seeing the Spirit of the Lord come upon someone to give him knowledge, intelligence, wisdom and understanding on how to create, basically what the vision is that he'd given Moses. So that was one of the Bible verses that first came out when I started to pray about, okay, this journal. So I'm like, okay, Lord, what does this mean? But the caveat of it is that on May 29th, 2025, I did not know I was going to be pregnant. I was not pregnant. I had no clue. Pregnancy was not in my brain. It was not in my purview or anything. But a month after that, or almost a month after that, in June 18th, 2025, I got laid off. So that's the first. I was like, okay, Lord, what we doing? What's going on? And to preface that layoff from like my full-time role, I remember going on a prayer walk and I was praying about the journal, praying about the Lord had called me back to come back into business, into marketing, to build the agency. And I was praying about that, praying about home. And I'm like, hey, Lord, there's so many things in my hands.
So many things are happening at the same time.
Yeah, I'm like, how am I going to do all that? How am I going to balance all of this? And that was like a week before I then got the call that I got laid off. And I was like,
I mean, talking more about the journal, it was just an idea that the Holy Spirit brought. First, it was an idea before the
yes.
vision. And I just told you about it.
Yeah.
We didn't really talk.
We didn't know, yes.
We didn't really know more. It was like, okay, let's go pray about it.
Let's go pray about it. And then a week or 2 weeks after the layoff, I'm talking to my husband. I'm like, I feel a little weird. And he's like, weird how? And I'm like, weird as in miss my monthly period. Like, where is it? I'm not really sure. Maybe it's stress. And yeah, I went to get a test, did what I needed to do. And yeah, it was positive. So then obviously so much unraveling. And I'm going to stop right there because that is like the beginning phase of like my journey into, coming into like co-creation journey. Because I wanted to start with the connection, how we met. And I wanted to also kind of break down like when she told me just about the idea and said, hey, Holy Spirit said to bring her in, I was in a space where I was like already thinking, oh, this is how it's going to go. But I had no clue that there was so much more in store.